Hello, I'm going to be talking about a disquieting feeling I've had about the Just Stop Oil protests and the migrant issue. And I'm going to go through what's happening, and then I'm going to be speculating on why this might be happening. I do want to warn you though, people are programmed to see patterns in things that don't actually exist, like we see patterns in clouds. And so it could be that I'm completely off the beam here. But all I can tell you is these are little things going through my mind and I'm just sharing them with you. All right, so first of all, I have to tell you that I'm Granniopteryx. I'm on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds. I let you know when I've uploaded a video on Twitter, Gab and Parler. If you subscribe to me on YouTube, then sometimes they drop the subscription or they don't tell you about new uploads. So it might be worthwhile subscribing to one of the social media things. Okay, you can help my channel by liking, click that like button and sharing and subscribing. And if you think you're subscribed, just check that one out. It might not be working. You can also help me financially. There's Buymeacoffee, and then there are a couple of other links in the description. All right, so let's get on with this. There's this headline here: do not intervene with Just Stop Oil protests, Met urges. And then there is an article following that. The Met has urged the public not to directly intervene with Just Stop Oil demonstrators. You see, you've got these people, they're trying to get to work, or they're trying to get their relatives to the hospital, or they're trying to pick up their children, and if they're late, the kids are going to be left standing outside the school gates, prey to God knows what. And then they find this line of people wearing orange high-vis vests sitting in the middle of the road, and the Met says don't directly intervene. What are these people supposed to do? This is asking people to fly in the face of nature, of every sort of human nature they have. Assistant Commissioner Matt Twist said people should call us and we'll deal with the climate change group. Yeah, well, I've seen pictures of them dealing with them. They're sitting there giving them drinks because they've glued themselves to the pavement. Getting too angry about this. Mr. Twist said he completely understood the frustration, but taking matters into their own hands could hamper prosecutions. This is because, he said, the police must work within the clear legal framework and secure evidence for the offence of highway obstruction. He explained, look, you've got photos of some clot sitting in the middle of the road wearing a high-vis vest and not moving. What more evidence do you need? One may ask. This included showing clearly that there's an obstruction. I refer you to my previous statement. That is, it's deliberate. You're sitting down in the middle of the road in a high-vis vest. They haven't just tripped. That it is unlawful. It's unlawful to sit down in the middle of the road. And finally, within the context of protest, that it is unreasonable in all of the circumstances. It's always unreasonable when you're stopping people from conducting their daily lives in an orderly and legal manner, lawful manner. And he says, without this evidence, any prosecution may fail and the offenders will not be held to account for their actions. A photograph, dear boy. Just a photograph. That is all you need. And a couple of witnesses, and you won't have any problems finding witnesses. He said the force is determined to bring to justice all of those who've caused significant and unreasonable disruption. No. Any disruption. It doesn't have to be significant. Any disruption is significant. Any disruption is unreasonable. And then you get these guys there spraying paint on public buildings. That's unreasonable as well. But they're still doing it. Here you've got an irate bystander pulling these guys over. Now, at the same time, I don't have any photos on my desktop right now, but I'll put them up now. There are plenty of photos of migrants walking into Britain off boats, literally in their hundreds, and they're all young men of military age, and apparently they're mostly Albanian. Now, the Albanians have taken over criminal gangs in London. We do know that. I think all brothels in Britain now are owned by or run by Albanians, or paying homage to Albanian extortion anyway. And there doesn't seem to be anything the government can do. So I'm just going to talk about what their options are. Well, we say do something, but how many of us would actually like it if we saw photographs of people drowning in the English Channel because their boat's been turned round and it's sunk? And what are we going to do? Get soldiers to shoot them? I know I'm going to get comments under here saying yes, but most people would not like that. So the government's in a bit of a quandary there. In America, the expression is between a rock and a hard place. In Britain, it's between the devil and the deep blue sea. And the deep blue sea here is a fairly accurate description. And the devil is the press, because they're going to be there with their cameras looking for mistreatment. Now, that's a problem. I'm sure there are ways of dealing with it, but I can't think of anything right now. Yes, turning the boats round, towing them back to France, and then puncturing them on the beach. That would be one thing. I think the French might consider that an act of war, though. All right, so that's the migrants. We'll get back to them in a minute. And then there's the Just Stop Oil who are doing this. And it's not just Stop Oil, obviously. It's Extinction Rebellion and Insulate Britain. They're all doing the same thing. They are harnessing the power of the middle class people who like to think of themselves as intellectuals, and they're causing a tremendous disruption, and they appear to have no heart. And they have no heart because they are they belong to an apocalyptic cult. Why let somebody through to take his ailing mother to hospital? It doesn't matter if she dies now. We're all going to be dead in 5 years' time anyway. And that's the way they look at it. Now, what the government could do with them is send in the territorial army or something like that and just haul them off to holding camps. I think what they're worried about there is that there might be actually stone-throwing rebellion like the French had in 1968 in Paris. Where my speculative theories come in is that it might be some sort of foreign interference. Now, I know in America, when anything goes in a way that a political party does not like, the first thing they say is, oh, it's Russians. And in Britain, that's a very unfashionable thing to say. But I keep remembering about the unions in the 60s and 70s who destroyed British industry by perpetual, constant strikes. And they turned out many of the heads of those unions were actually in the pay of the Soviet Union. And so the structure is already there. It would not surprise me if some of the leaders of these protests were not also in the pay, probably of Russia. I suppose it could be someone else as well. But Russia is the most likely at the moment. Of course, I have no idea. So finally, a lot of, and where is this going? Well, you know, a lot of people are going to end up thinking we're in a war. We're being invaded, and there's a sort of fifth column destroying our lives within our orderly cities. And, oh yes, I mustn't forget the inter-ethnic riots as well. Something must have sparked those off. And people are going to start saying, we need a strong government to sort this out. People are going to get so desperate that that is what they're going to be asking for. And that's quite dangerous, isn't it? The social breakdown in Germany in the 1930s resulted in a strong government. So that's quite worrying if that's where it's going. And if the government knows that's where it's going, the question is the government all awash on a stormy sea, unable to control the boat, or do they know that this is what will happen and that people will be asking for somebody to save us, some sort of salvation, some sort of strong leader? If it is a strong leader, it won't be Rishi Sunak, of course. He flip-flops more often than a pair of sandals on a wet beach. Anyway, it's worrying, and it's certainly worth thinking of. Right, that's it. Till next time. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the granniopteryx design or Granbo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.granniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share.